ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थाम विकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोतीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तककेशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम्। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ Param varishtham brahmishtham paramananda rupinam paramarthananda yatim sadgurum pranatosmyaham. So with the previous shloka, Lord Krishna has concluded the last pair also. Basically, there were three pairs Lord Krishna was discussing: Purushaha and Prakriti, and then Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha, Jnanam and Neyam. So all the 6 topics Lord Krishna has dealt with, and therefore the main teaching is over. Now, I just wanted to let you all know that we have just about crossed the most abstract part of the Gita, which is, slightly difficult for beginners to assimilate. It takes years of Shravanam, Mananam and exposure to other Prakarana Granthas as well as Upanishads to appreciate this portion of the teaching. So in case any of you felt that it was a little difficult, or the concept was very abstract, etc., nothing to worry. We all go through this part of the journey. It's just that I would recommend that we go back, revisit Introduction to Vedanta, and come back and listen to these last 5 or 6 classes of the 13th chapter. Okay, eventually all of us will get there and we will understand, but I just wanted to make a mention that it is the crux of the teaching, and therefore it is a little difficult to get our arms around it, right? So that is the reason why sometimes I also summarize and repeat, etc. So let us see, what is coming up next. We are going to actually see Jnana phalam, right? So in the following verses from 25 to the end of the chapter, verse 35, Lord Krishna is consolidating the entire teaching because it is very profound and very important also. So while consolidating the teaching, he deals with 3 aspects. Topic 1 is the Jnanam itself, right? The Jnanam regarding Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha, otherwise called Purushaha and Prakriti, right? So discriminative spiritual knowledge or Tattva Bodha, which is what we saw in Introduction to Vedanta. Basically, Introduction to Vedanta, at least 7 or 8 classes of that, almost 75 to 80% of the Introduction to Vedanta is based on a text called Tattva Bodha, right? So that was the first topic. That is the first topic that Krishna is going to talk about. And then the second one he talked about was Jnanam, right? About the disciplines required for gaining this knowledge. In Sanskrit, we refer to them as Jnana sadhanani, right? Step by step, how should you go through? So that's the second topic that he's going to speak about. And the third topic is Jnana phalam, the benefit of gaining the knowledge. The more we know, the benefit, the more we value. Why is Jnana phalam important? Because when you go to, say, a good university and you get a good degree, you know that the degree is valuable. That can actually put you, in an advantage in society, right? You know that. So therefore, knowing the value, you like to embark on that degree. It could be personal aspirations, or it could be good standing in society, or it could be just getting settled and married, whatever it is, right? But once you know the value, then it becomes easier for the person to feel attracted towards that and proceed on that journey. So the value of the degree or the university becomes important. So for moksha also, what happens, unless you know the value, right, of moksha, that burning desire, right, what is referred to as mumukshutvam in Tattva Bodha, that is not there, right? So you should know the value of this jnanam or the value of moksha. Then we will be sincere in the sadhana. Therefore, jnana phalam is also very important, right? So Lord Krishna talks about this in the following 11 verses: Jnanam, Sadhanam and Phalam, all summary, okay? So the knowledge, the disciplines and the benefit, right? So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is talking about Jnana sadhanani, right? The next shloka. So the series of disciplines prescribed in the Shastra, which we have talked about earlier also in the 12th chapter. We talked about the various stepping stones, the various stages of sadhana, right? 5 stages we talked about. This is slightly differently. We are going to summarize now, but now also we are going to have 5 stages. ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे कर्मयोगेन चापरे. So what are the 5-fold stages, right? Karma yoga, upasana yoga, shravana yoga, manana yoga, and nididhyasana yoga. Karma, upasana, shravana, manana, nididhyasana. Each one is called a yoga because each one is a spiritual discipline leading to spiritual knowledge, and each one has a role to play which cannot be replaced by the other one. Therefore, everyone has to go through all these 5 levels, either in this janma or across several janmas, right? Through all these yogas, we are not going to achieve moksha or Brahman, because according to the scriptures, moksha happens to be our own real nature, which is covered by a layer of obstacles. Therefore, all the spiritual sadhanas are required not for getting anything, but only for shedding the layers of obstacles. Exactly like a sculptor, right? When he is removing chunks and chunks of rock, right? So slowly he is bringing out the beautiful murtis like Rama, Krishna. Everything is from the same rock, right? But he is able to create that, right? So similarly, every Mahatma, every Acharya sees in the Jiva, the samsari Jiva, the problematic Jiva, as a very embodiment of the same Atma or Brahman, but covered by layers of obstacles. So the 5 yogas remove the obstacles from the gross level to the finest level. Some obstacles are very gross, some are very, very subtle. So Karma Yoga removes, if you remember, Karma Yogena Mala Nivrittihi. The most powerful obstacles, what kind of malam are impurities in the mind in the form of raga and dvesha. So all emotional disturbances are caused by raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion, or likes and dislikes only. Many things I like, I want it to happen. Many things I don't like, right? So I don't want it to happen. Therefore, stronger the raga dvesha, stronger the emotional disturbances. So we want to order the universe to suit our needs and our requirement. We want it to conform to our raga dvesha. And it is difficult, right? And you see, as you grow up and you have children and you have more relatives coming in, there is no way you can control so many people around you, so many situations, so many objects, etc. Only we have to learn to handle our own mind. Controlling the world is impossible, right? So this handling of the mind is Karma Yoga. So it stands for what, right? We saw this acronym earlier, RIDE. I'm just reminding you. R is reduction of all adharmic activities gradually, right? Basically, by applying the principle that you don't want others to do certain things, you don't do those things to others. So R is gradually reducing adharmic activities. I is gradual increase of dharmic activities, especially Pancha Mahayajnaha. I hope you remember, several times I have repeated this, right? So Pancha Mahayajnaha. And then D represents dedicating all our actions as a worship. Yadyat karma karoti tadakilam shambho tavaradhanam. In Shiva Manasa Shloka it comes. So if you're a Vishnu Bhakta, Vishnu tavaradhanam. and dedicate all of them to the Lord. Ishvara Arpana Bhavana. And then finally, E stands for experiencing all the consequences as Ishvara Prasada. In fact, all our experiences are consequences of our own past actions. It just gets processed through the law of karma and comes down from Ishvara, right? So according to our Shastra, every single experience, pleasurable or painful, is that we go through, they are all consequences of our past actions. Now, past actions can be what happened in this Janma, or it can be past Janma also, right? So if you have a set of family members who are giving you trouble, then we must remember that some karma, and you feel that you have done nothing wrong in this Janma, it only means that something from the past is catching up with you and you're exhausting that prarabdha karma through this way, right? So whether it is husband, wife, children, extended family, anybody, right? So world is a pipeline through which our karma in a transformed form reaches us. The karma phalam is given by Bhagavan through the world. Therefore, all experiences are Ishvara Prasada only. So therefore, receiving all experiences with Prasada Bhavana is E. So R-I-D-E, right? Now, if I do this, what happens? The Raga Dvesha starts getting diluted, and Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. We saw this in Gita earlier. Therefore, disempowering or disarming the Raga Dvesha is the benefit of Karma Yoga. So this is Karma Yogena Mala Nivrittihi. Malam here is Raga and Dvesha. The next one is Upasana Yoga, which is a variety of meditation. The simplest form of meditation being Manasa Japaha. So through the practice of this Manasa Japa or Upasana Abhyasa, which Lord calls as Abhyasa Yoga, I developed two important skills, right? Internal skills. The capacity to withdraw the mind from all its perceptions at will. Most of the time, mind is engaged in its own preoccupation, right? So this is a very, very practical benefit. So without even our will or desire or plan, right? It just goes all around, right? So Upasana is the capacity to withdraw the mind from its preoccupation at will. Therefore, during Upasana, I should be able to order the mind, stop your preoccupation, and the mind should say, yes, sir, I obey, right? This is one powerful capacity called Shamaha, right? Very, very important. And for Shamaha, lot of things we can practice like, Upavasa, etc., right? Any form of Upavasa, saying one day you won't touch mobile, one day you won't see TV, one day you won't speak to people, or not eating, anything, any of the sense organs, you can willfully deprive and see if the mind is able to control this. And if during that time, if your mind is able to, pray or get involved in, the Virat Upasana, any of these, right? So during meditation, the capacity to stop the mind from getting preoccupied, that is Shamaha, right? And once this is withdrawn, right, then the advantage is the mind is relaxed. So we refer to that as Uparamaha, right? And then your mind is available to focus on anything, not just, God or Japa in meditation, but the same value, when it gets inculcated, you are able to spend the entire 1 hour, say, in Gita class without your mind wandering, right? So the capacity to keep the mind relaxed at will, or the capacity to direct the mind in any field at will, like Manasa Puja, Manasa Japa, Manasa Parayanam, Vedantic meditation, anything, right? That becomes, the mind is available to me, right? So this is Vikshepa Nivritti. Upasana Yogena Vikshepa Nivrittihi, right? So a very, very, very useful and wonderful practice is Shiva Manasa Puja, right? Ratnai Kalpita Manasam. In fact, in the website, you can download the Shiva Manasa Puja shloka as well as, the PPT. It is very useful. And once you practice this and you get by heart, you do the entire worship of Shiva mentally, right? So asanam samarpayami, padyam argyam snanam samarpayami, simhasanam. So when you tell all this, you are not speaking out, right? Mentally you are offering this puja to Shiva, and it's relatively easier because you can imagine Shiva in front of you. You can imagine the chatram, chamaram, etc., and the dadyam, the sweet, and everything, right? And then you offer all of them mentally, and those, it takes about 6 to 7 minutes, right? And during that time your mind is really concentrating on God. So it's very, very useful practice which we saw under concentration meditation, right? So if you're able to do this, then upasana yogena vikshepa nivrittihi, right? Now karma yoga and upasana yoga have nothing to do with spirituality here. Both of them are preparing the mind for spirituality. We must remember that. Therefore, these two are very practically very beneficial in our work life, at home, etc., right? So that is why I strongly believe, right, if people get exposed to Gita early on, right, then when they are in their active work life and in the peak of, home, career, senior citizens, all of these pulling in all directions, right? At that time, when they have this, I would say, karma yoga and upasana yoga as a background shruti, right? It really helps balance and actually have an equanimous mind, and which is very helpful because stress will be less and they can do much better both at home and in their careers, right? So unfortunately, people think that it is a post-retirement kind of study, Gita, and therefore they don't come to it until late, right? So that is also one reason why I wanted to, do this, do the Gita classes through Vyoma, because I feel that whatever benefits that one has got, right, because of some punya of being exposed at a much younger age and having done all of this together, it should reach out to more people, right? So in your own way, each of you who is listening, if you're able to communicate this, so karma yoga and upasana yoga is only preparing the mind for spirituality. We've not even entered the spiritual journey through both of them, right? So then comes the real spiritual sadhana called Shravana Yoga, in which alone I expose myself to the teachings of Gita or Upanishad or the Prakarana Grantha. Prakarana Grantha or all the other granthas written by various acharyas. They have been so compassionate that they have taken just one topic, if you say sadhana chatushtayam, and expanded so much about it, right? Or Jagat Shrishti or Ishvara, so much has been written about it, right? So each of these Prakarana Granthas, or they're all, each of them is a big gem, right? So, and they deal with the real nature of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, right, etc. So Vedanta reveals the truth, right? And that truth is one and the same only. Basically, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara are same only. Just as one water alone appears as wave and also as ocean, right? The same water appears as, the same essential truth appears as ocean as well as wave, right? So therefore, we saw that Kshetrajnaha is the same Brahman available within each Jiva, right? And which is also known as Jnayam, that is to be known, right? Is also known as Purushaha, which is called Brahman, which is called Atma. That principle alone with different Nama and Rupa is appearing as this triangle, Jivatma, Paramatma, right? And Jagat or Anatma, right? The three. So all of them are essentially Atma only. Three Veshas of one Atma is Jivatma, Paramatma and Anatma, or you can say Jivatma, Paramatma and Jagat, right? And this, I have to receive this teaching by consistent and systematic study of Vedantic scriptures for a length of time under the guidance of a competent Acharya. Then I will receive this message. So this is called Shravana Yoga. So Shravanena Ajnana Nivritti. Ajnana means what? Spiritual ignorance, right? So Karma Yogena Mala Nivrittihi, Upasana Yogena Vikshepa Nivrittihi, and Shravanena Ajnana Nivrittihi or Avarana Nivrittihi, it is called, right? So Avaranam and Ajnanam are both synonyms only. right? And then the fourth is manana yoga. So with any aspect, right, of the teaching, right, if I have doubts, right, any kind of doubt I have in the essential teaching of these threefold Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, right? In this essential teaching, do I have any doubt, right? There are so many non-essentials in Gita, as Swamiji says, which conch did Dharmaputra blow, right? Or which conch did Bhishma have? They are all not significant, right? We don't have to bother to remember all of that. But the central teaching, right? That we need to remember. And if there is doubt in it, if there are interpretational doubts, right? Then we definitely need to get them clarified, right? So if you know Sanskritam, then you might end up having more doubts because you might be able to understand it better and ask, why is Krishna speaking using this word here and another word there, etc. If you don't know Sanskritam and you're following the English meaning, then in a way you're lucky because you can focus on the Vedantic teaching. Another way, you are also motivated to learn Sanskritam and try and understand this. So clarifying doubts and getting conviction in this teaching, right? That is basically manana, right? So that is the important aspect, clearing interpretational doubts basically. Yes, and logical doubts, interpretational as well as logical doubts. Yes, mananam, right? So the process of removing these doubts is called mananam, and all the Vedantic manuals written by various acharyas, right? Very nice bhashyams, as well as, you know, books like Naishkarmya Siddhi, Upadesha Sahasri, etc. Fantastic works where the teacher, the guru, thinks of all kinds of possible objections that could come up in the mind of the student and keeps on putting forth these as Purva Pakshis, and the guru answers them as Siddhantas. So by the time you go through all of them, you wouldn't have, no doubt would remain in the mind, right? So that is Mananam. Over hundreds of such manuals have been written, and acharyas concentrate on different doubts that people can have, right? So mananena samshaya nivrittihi, we say. Samshaya means doubt, right? So it should not be, oh, the Shastras say this, Shankaracharya says this, or the Guru says this. It should not be a Upanishadic statement. If there is Aham Brahmasmi, we should be able to claim, right? Aham Brahmasmi. You need not go around publicizing, saying Aham Brahmasmi, or, you know, forget your real name and say I am Brahmasmi and I have no transactions, only all these are Nama Rupa. You don't have to do that. But internally, in solitude, or are you able to claim that, right? So do you have any doubts still left? So clearing of doubts in my own intellect, right? That is mananam, right? Then finally comes nididhyasanam, where this is dwelling upon the teaching to get out of my habitual thinking that I am the mortal body, right? The growing, graying, going body, as Swamiji says, right? So we all come and we all go, right? And in the process, this is just going to happen. But in and through all of that, am I able to understand what is my real nature and invoke it whenever I want, right? It is my second nature. I'm able to think about it, or my real nature, and I don't have to struggle, right, to rest in that real nature, right? So, and basically to think and assimilate that I am Brahman and this entire universe rests in me, right? Mayeva sakalam jatam. A very big leap, right? So Vedanta says you are not a dot in the world. The entire cosmos is a dot in you. In Purusha Suktam, if you see, Padosya Vishwabhutani Tripadasyamritam Divi, right? And in Atma Bodha, Shankaracharya says, you are the ocean of consciousness and all the galaxies are bubbles in you, right? Not planets. All the galaxies are small bubbles in you, right? So he says, Upadane khiladhare jaganti parameshware sargastitilayan yanti budbudan eva parini. Budbudan eva, which is like bubbles, budbudani varini, right? So the galaxies are like bubbles, very difficult to swallow, but this is the paradigm shift, right? So getting out of the habitual thinking, that is basically the result of nididhyasana, right? So nididhyasana yoga removes habitual wrong thinking or viparita bhavana nivritti, self misconception, right? So that is important. And in fact, Swamiji gives this joke. Apparently, I haven't observed this. Vajpayee, right, the then Prime Minister, he was sitting in the opposition for a very long time, right, in the parliament. So he was always used to being referred to as opposition leader only. Then what happened was one day he became the Prime Minister and he addressed someone as Prime Minister, right? Forgetting that he has become a Prime Minister. It takes time, right, to sink, right? So Swamiji always quotes this, right? And so therefore it takes a while for some of these things to sink in, what to say of your real higher nature, right? So we have to be able to claim that higher nature, right? So that is viparita bhavana nivritti through nididhyasanam, right? So here in this shloka, if you see, Krishna is just using code words for these. Second line, he says karma yogena. So here karma yoga represents the first two yogas, both karma and upasana yoga, right? So some people start with that and this with karma yoga and then move to upasana yoga, right? So basically apare means beginners, right, or manda adhikarinaha. Whereas there are some people who have got the advantage of purva janma, just as there are prodigies in any field, right, like Ramanujam, right, who is a math genius, etc., from a very young age, right? So you also have spiritual prodigies, right? So karma and upasana here are treated as the basic karma yogena, right? And then they are considered as manda adhikaris or madhyama adhikaris, right? And then shravanam and mananam here are called as sankhya yogena. So sankhya yoga is for madhyama adhikari, right? So sankhya refers to shravanam and mananam here. These are still more fortunate and superior prodigies. They have done even shravanam and mananam to a great extent. Therefore the knowledge of purva janma is there in the potential form. That is why in some of the biographies of Mahatmas, we see that they've never had a guru, etc. But we are not those exceptions. So we must go through consistent and systematic study. So Lord Krishna himself tells all people, right, that generally you need a guru. The exceptions are really rare exceptions, right? So the exceptional people are those who are dhyane natmani pashyanti. Certain other spiritual prodigies, even without a guru in very early age, they turn to spirituality and they spend some time in some place and they are able to discover the truth, right, which is hidden in their own mind. It's only a trigger, right, which causes them to realize that. In the 6th chapter of the Gita, we actually saw that in 642. Atava pudacheri atava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam etatti durlabhataram loke janma yadi drisham, right? So tatra tam buddhi sanyogam labate paurvadehikam. Paurvadehikam means purva janma buddhi, right? Means the knowledge and intellect they obtain. They don't struggle at all, quickly they gain. They are the rare cases. That is set in dhyanena, right? Dhyanena is uttama adhikari, maha spiritual prodigy, and dhyanam here refers to nididhyasanam, which is the 5th and final step, right? So they discover the truth, the atma. Where do they discover? Atmani pashyanti, in their own mind, because the truth is in the form of chaitanyam or consciousness, which is available in every mind, including our own mind, and as the very kshetrajnaha, the witness consciousness. So atmani means in the mind. Atmani here refers to the mind, and atmana with the help of the mind itself, right? Because mind is required to receive the teaching. Atmanam pashyati, their real higher nature they discover, right? This is the sadhana ladder consisting of the 5 stages. So where do I stand? Each one has to reflect and find out, right? We have to discover through ourselves, right? So we now know what is a Manda Adhikari, what is a Madhyama Adhikari, and what is a Uttama Adhikari, right? So depending on our mental level, we have to decide where we are, right? Continuing. Anye tvevamajanantah, Anye tvevamajanantah, Shrutvanebhya upasate, Shrutvanebhya upasate, Tepi chatiranti veva, Tepi chatitarantyeva, Mrityum shruti parayanah, Mrityum shruti parayanah. So here Lord Krishna points out that receiving the teaching from an acharya is very, very important, right? So, but what method we use for receiving the teaching? There we have an option. One can go to the original works like Gita, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, etc. Or you can study the many manuals written by the acharyas without going through the original. That is also okay. Another person may not use a book at all. The acharya gives the teaching in any language. It need not be Sanskrit, right? For studying Gita, you do not have to do it in Sanskrit, right? So the medium of communication can be English, but to understand, right, some of the works in original, we need Sanskrit, right? That is very important, right? So we have the Vedantic works in several languages other than Sanskrit also, right? So we generally don't come across them, but there are books in other languages also, right? And Lord Krishna says that, so somehow or the other you receive this teaching, language does not matter. Therefore he says anyetu, there are some other people, evam ajanantaha, they don't gain this knowledge in this manner by the study of the original works. They don't study original works like Upanishad, etc. Anyebhyah shrutva, they listen to one other, some other person, or from some other sources. Anyebhyah shrutva upasate, right? So it can be in any language, it can even be in Spanish for that matter, right? So the message, if it is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, that is the teaching, that's all, right? Therefore, Anyebhyah Shrutva, right? This teaching has to be in a systematic manner, right? In any book, anywhere, that is fine, right? So, whereas one thing where we have to remember is we can study from anywhere, but the study has to be systematic in a beautiful and well structured and organized way. So that is the greatness of the India and the Sanatana Dharma and the Parampara is that we are preserving Narayanam Padmabhuvam onwards from Sadashiva, from Narayanam we are learning, right? So Anyebhyah Shrutva Upasate, not only we listen but we follow also, right? So Lord Krishna gives this guarantee. Te picha, even those people, wherever they are, whichever country they belong to, right? Whatever religion they belong to also, as long as they have chitta shuddhi, right? That is mental refinement, and they are able to come to the teaching and understand this, right? Tepi, those people also, atitaranti eva mrityum, they will also cross over mortality and the fear of mortality and the sense of insecurity caused by the advancing mortality as we are growing old, right? So mrityum atitaranti, that's the advantage. We cross over the fear of mortality and they cross over the mortality also by knowing that I am the immortal Atma, not the mortal body, right? Shruti parayanaha means by resorting, Shruti parayanaha means by resorting to only Shravanam, right? And listening to the Guru and following, right? So being committed to listening, they also definitely cross over mortality. Continuing. Yavat sanjayate kinchit yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavara jangamam sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetrajna sanyogat kshetra kshetrajna sanyogat tadviddhi bharatarshava tadviddhi bharatarshava. So we may get a doubt. How can the spiritual knowledge free us from mortality, right? How can the spiritual wisdom and mere wisdom, right, free me, right? Asatoma satgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. How can it happen? So Lord Krishna gives the answer, right? The thing is, really speaking, we don't need to free ourselves from mortality, right? According to scriptures, we already happen to be the immortal Atma with a mortal body as only a dress basically, right? So in Gita, very important shloka, the minute we say dress, we must remember 222. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnani naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. So the mortal body is only a temporary medium through which I experience the world. The dress may come and go, right? The dress I, who am behind, happen to be already immortal. Therefore, mortality is not at all our problem, right? This is secret of Vedanta. We have to clearly register. Our problem is misconception that I am mortal. So mortality is not a problem, but the cause, the sense of mortality, which sense is actually not at all a sense or nonsense, is the problem, right? So this is called kshetra kshetrajna sanyogaha. Mixing up and messing up, mistaking the mortal body to be myself. I have superimposed and I've thrown the body's mortality on myself, who am different from the body. Therefore, what I require is clearing the mix up and mess up. Hand over the mortality to the body, understand the immortality of the Atma. So in 13th chapter language, we should say, Kshetram is mortal, Kshetrajnaha is immortal. So the segregation we have to do, right? And it is not enough if you just segregate, right? Just mortal Kshetram and immortal Kshetrajnaha. Then which one am I, right? So I have to vote for the right group, right? So I should claim that I am the immortal Kshetrajnaha and accept the mortality of Kshetram as its very nature. Claim the immortality of Kshetrajnaha as my own and accept the immortality of Kshetram, which is the very nature of Kshetram. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, Kinchit sthavara jangamam sattvam. Any living being, sattvam means any living being, right? So plants are sthavara tattvam because they are non-moving living beings, right? Very important aspect. And jangamam are animals, birds, human beings, etc. are jangama tattvam. So all living beings, moving or non-moving, they go through sanjayate, cycle of birth and death. So they are subject to mortality trap, which is called samsara chakram. And chakram is punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So this mortality trap, all the living beings are entrapped. Why? Because of kshetra kshetrajna sanyoga, right? Non-discrimination, mixing up of the two, kshetrajnaha and kshetram. So Arjuna, right? Bharatarshava tad vidhi. May you understand, and once you understand the problem, I will know the problem is because of my own ignorance and the solution is because of this knowledge, right? And I have to gain that knowledge, right? Very important. So what happens is in Karma Kanda, you can have proxies. If you want to, do some ritual and you can't speak Sanskritam or you're not well, you can get somebody to do it, a priest, and you can give dakshina, right? In Jnana Kanda, you can't do that. Whether it is a lady or a man, whoever it is, that person has to go through this Jnana Yoga, the journey, right? The spiritual journey. Nobody else can substitute, right? So Lord Krishna said in chapter 5, right? Jnanena tu tajnanam esham nashitam atmanah teshamaditya vajnanam prakashayati tatparam. Jnanam alone is the solution. And how to get that jnanam? In chapter 4, Lord Krishna said, Tadvitti pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So never make a self-attempt, right? Go to an acharya and receive the knowledge through consistent and systematic study. So systematic scriptural study is the prime sadhana, and all other sadhanani can never replace the systematic study. Then you might ask, right? So are pujas and other things really important? So as I said, we should not forget karma yoga and upasana yoga are required for refining the mind and getting us prepared for jnana yoga, for shravanam, mananam and nididhyasanam, right? All of them are useful, but they cannot replace scriptural study, right? So jnanam alone is the solution, the direct solution. Na anya pantaha ayanaya vidyate. There is no other marga, the Upanishad says, right? So Lord Krishna is mentioning this here, saying it is because of ignorance alone that we are mixing up the two layers of our personality. Kshetrajnaha, the Atma Tattvam, the Sachidananda Swarupam, and the Anatma, the Kshetram. And once we are confused, the confusion is, right? It is because of ignorance, and the ignorance leads to mixing up, which is called Tadatmya Adhyasaha, right? Tadatmya Adhyasaha means it is a confusion, a mixture of Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha. When you mix up, you have a problem, right? So this world has lot of beauty, variety, right? And novelty. Everything is there. So Kshetram or Anatma is wonderful. But Lord Krishna repeatedly wants the entire humanity that even though the world has novelty, variety, beauty, it continuously changes, and all favorable situations will come to an end and unfavorable situations will rise. So healthy body change to unhealthy body. Unhealthy body may become even further worse, or maybe after a period of time you get all right. Right? This will happen. This is bound to happen. Right? So the entire problem of humanity is that they emotionally lean on the world, hoping to get peace, security, and happiness. Right? So in fact, Swamiji keeps on saying that there was some man who lost the ring in the Mahamaham tank in Kumbakonam. It's a huge tank, and like Kumbh Mela, a lot of people come there to have a bath. So he lost the ring. So he could not search because there were so many people there, right? So next to the Mahamaham tank, there's another tank, which is not the Mahamaham tank, a small tank with lot of water and no people. So he was going on searching for the ring in that tank, right? Saying that there it is difficult to search, so he's searching in this place, right? So I can't search my ring there, so I have come here and I'm searching, right? So it's exactly like that, right? So just because this is difficult, right, and you don't want to attend that, you will not be able to gain jnanam through karma yoga. So karma yoga is searching for the ring, right? So remember that karma yoga also must be intelligently done. And in fact, when you are doing karma yoga, we always say that instead of asking for something for oneself, ask for jnana vairagya siddhyartham or loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, right? So Vedanta says Kshetram is the wrong tank for searching for peace, security and happiness. Kshetram consisting of entire family, pancha, anatma, body, mind, family, profession, possession, right? So whatever happiness they give, they cannot permanently give because they themselves are not permanent, right? So even a relationship can change, right? So therefore samsara is looking for a wrong thing in the wrong place, looking for peace and security in Kshetram is samsara. So what does the Jnani do? Jnani uses the world for serving and for entertainment, remembering that matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama payina anityaha. He knows it will come, it will go. Tan titikshasva bharata. To develop titiksha, endurance, yes, right? But having understood this about Kshetram, allow things to come and go, right? Whenever you need peace, security and happiness, don't turn towards Kshetram, but lean toward Kshetrajnaha, right? So basically, the problem comes from Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyoga, because of the mixing up, right, of the Kshetra and Kshetrajnaha, and the consequent wrong expectation. People who like me may not like me forever, right? And same way, somebody for whom you do a lot of help may not do anything for you, but somebody else may come and do that help for you also, right? So Swamiji and Jnanis always say, are not worried about somebody being present or somebody being absent. They know that it will continue, right? So expecting stability from Kshetram is the problem, right? So our searching will only take us from one Janma to another, because at the time of death also, if we go with a desperate earning, because many things we wanted are not fulfilled, so with the whatever karma we die, that will take us to the next Janma. Kamanya kamayate manyamanaha sakama virjayate tatra tatra. In Mundaka Upanishad and in the 8th chapter, right? We saw the 8th chapter, we said, Yanyam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha, right? So thus the journey goes on, and we don't know where to really look, right, for these. Iti bharatarshava tadviti. Therefore, what is the only solution? Sort out Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha. Stop wrong expectations from Kshetram and discover fulfillment in your own nature, right? So in the 2nd chapter of Sri Bhagavan, Lord Krishna says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyeva atmana tushtaha sthita prajnasta tyochite. If I cannot find fulfillment in myself, I can never find it in anything else also, right? So continuing. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu, samam sarveshu bhuteshu, tishtantam parameshwaram, tishtantam parameshwaram, vinashyatsva vinashyantam, vinashyatsva vinashyantam, yapashyati sa pashyati, yapashyati sa pashyati. Therefore, the intelligent person who has diagnosed the problem of samsara, and therefore who knows the remedy and who has followed the remedy in the form of the 5-fold sadhana, will clearly know that I, the observer, Chaitanya Tattvam, is Kshetrajnaha, which is not only in this body, but which is present in all the bodies uniformly. Because consciousness is there in everybody, right? So he is aware that the non-variable consciousness principle, the witness of all the varying things in this world. So the external world is variable, the bodies are variable, mind, thought, right? So in and through all the changing, right, variable things, the non-changing consciousness. Sutre manigana iva, right? Like the one thread behind varieties of beads, one Kshetrajnaha is in and through everybody. Body is a bead which is a variable, but the thread behind it, the thread is not visible, but the thread alone keeps the beads together. Similarly, Kshetrajnaha, he recognizes through Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam, right? He knows that Kshetrajnaha is different from Kshetram, and he is able to claim that as his real nature, right? So, and we also accept the inevitable nature of Kshetram. What is that? Association followed by disassociation, growth followed by degeneration, birth followed by death. All these are natural phenomena, right? I can't call any of them a problem because that is the nature of Kshetram. Separation cannot be called a problem. It is the nature, right? So, most of the problems which we name problems, according to Lord Krishna, he says it is because of wrong expectation. Once you remove the expectation, you will remove the tag problem also, right? So it is a natural phenomena and nobody can stop this, including Bhagavan. So even Lord Krishna in Dwapara Yuga, when he came, he had to go through a lot of problems and he had to repeat the entire Gita teaching again in Uddhava Gita, right? Same around 1000 shlokas and 21 chapters, etc. Right? So again, equally elaborate Gita he has given in the form of Uddhava Gita, right? So, and just as Lord here Arjuna is crying, there his friend Uddhava was crying because of the impending separation from Lord, Sakshat Lord Krishna, right? So 24 chapters, right, of Uddhava Gita. Again he had to do, right? So never expect the matter to be the same all the time. Therefore, we should remember during day-to-day transaction that it is bound to change, right? So understanding during class and understanding the meaning of Gita is a lot easier than actually relating it in practical life and putting it to use and actually imbibing the teaching and changing. But over the years, slowly, once you reflect on yourself, you will be able to see the change and you can discern for yourself, right? So you will be free from emotional disturbances, as I keep saying, FIR reduction. So samadukka sukha swastha samaloštashma kanchanaha tulya priya priyodiraha tulya nindatma sanstutihi. Some people criticize, some people glorify. These are all natural to the Kshetram. I can maintain the balance of mind only if I remember the nature of Kshetram and Kshetrajna. Therefore, Jnanam is not enough. Jnana Nishtha is important. So what is Jnana Nishtha? Lord Krishna defines in this important shloka, right? So he says, Yap Pashyati. Jnani is the one who discerns the difference between body and the soul in all the transactions. Sarveshu Bhuteshu, right? So Sarveshu Bhuteshu, the Jnani experiences perishable bodies because life is an interaction between perishable bodies only, right? Bhutaha means, right, the body, not the Panchabhutas, but it's the Shariram, including the near and dear ones, right? Vinashyatsu, which are naturally perishable. Sarveshu Bhuteshu Vinashyatsu, in and through all of them, the Jnani is aware of that principle that enlivens the body, which is the invisible one that is behind all the bodies. Exactly like how electricity is behind the mic, the fan, the tube light, the AC, etc. Functions are different, right? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha. People are different, their roles are different, but all of them are enlivened by one consciousness. Samam tishtantam, uniformly present, right? Not in a visible manner, but as the consciousness principle. Therefore, samam tishtantam Parameshwara, God in his real nature is not a person, right? But the very consciousness, Parameshwara, right? So, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. The minute we say Parameshwara, we will remember the Vrishabha Aruda, Parvati sitting, Ganapati, etc., right? So, for senior students, what is God? The Chaitanyam, which enlivens the body, is God, right? So, Lord Krishna says Parameshwaram, right? And basically the Atma. Atmatvam Girijamati Sahacharaha, Vishwamanasa Stotram, right? So Vinashyatsu Avinashyantam, which is imperishable, Kshetrajnaha Pashyati. Yap Pashyati, Sa Pashyati, right? So he never loses sight of that. Pashyati literally means Jnani sees, right? And he remembers that consciousness cannot be, he knows it cannot be visually perceived, right? But he sees consciousness here means he discerns. like we discern the invisible electricity. Therefore, yak pashyati sab pashyati. That person alone deserves the title of a seer or a jnani. In English, a sage is called a seer, and here Lord Krishna gives that as a definition: the one who sees both kshetra and kshetrajnaha is a seer. Okay, so I'll stop here and take up 29th shloka in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Any questions? A lot of painful old memories seem to be coming up. While I intellectually understand that they may be a result of past karmas, it is still difficult and painful. I can only say that through sankalpa, through meditation, you can try and get over this, right? If you want, you can listen to Swamiji's lectures on meditation, and there's a series on guided meditation, which you can get through the Shastra Prakashika app. You can download. You can basically have access to those through Shastra Prakashika app. I think it costs 300 rupees per CD. So when you go through concentration meditation, expansion meditation, value meditation, when you want to get rid of a particular problem, right, kind of thought, etc., those kind of meditations really help, right? So Uddhava Gita is not popular, question mark. No, it's very popular. Swami Paramarthananda teaches Uddhava Gita also. I think there are a lot of people who like Uddhava Gita. There are a lot of people who like the Bhagavad Gita. It appeals to different kind of people, but essentially the teachings are the same. My personal preference is Bhagavad Gita, but I do listen to Uddhava Gita also. Nothing, maybe because I got exposed to Bhagavad Gita first. There are lots of other Gitas also. There's Rama Gita, and then there is Hamsa Gita as part of Uddhava Gita. Then there's a Ribu Gita. There are different Gitas. Gita is just a spiritual work which talks about moksha and jnanam. It can be any of these. We are only familiar with the most popular one, which is the Bhagavad Gita. Uddhava Gita is part of Bhagavatam, interestingly, and people stop with the Dashama Skandam because all the stories of Krishna stops there. The 11th one is actually the Uddhava Gita. Anybody else has any questions? Let me just see one second. I don't see any hands raised, but looks like there is a question. There is a hand raised here.
Namo Namaha Mahoday. Namo Namaha Namaskara. Yes, I was just wondering if it's our Swamiji, because somebody in Malaysia gave me this reference and I was added to this WhatsApp group. They sent 10 minutes of scriptural thing every day into the inbox. And It so happened yesterday, the Swamiji was explaining the same, that the ring one. Can you believe that last night I heard this ring story? And the same he was explaining. So I was wondering if it's Swamiji who is doing that. It is a Swamiji. I don't know whether it's Chinmayananda or Dayananda Saraswati group.
Oh, you can send. I can normally recognize the voices.
Okay, so I'll send it to you, because and the same story last night before going to bed, I heard this. I was so happy to, and the same relevance. Dhanyavada.
Yeah. Anybody else has any other question? So I think next class I'm completing the 13th chapter. Let me see. I am trying to, do justice to this chapter, and then after that we will have a summary. Please note that there's no class on 25th, but next class we'll meet. That's on 18th. Next Sunday we will have a class at 8:25. Right? I'm just checking if there are any other questions. No. Once again, there's somebody who's raised the hand. No. Okay. So next week, same time, we will meet 8:25. Hari Om.